there, this is Mary Ellen Murrow with the Vista Consulting team.
Hi, and I'm Terri Houchin, also with Vista Consulting.
Today we're going to be talking to you about client journaling. And while it's certainly not a new concept to have clients journal about their symptoms, their progress, and their emotions, it's one that's really been brought to light a lot recently as firms think about how to deal with gaps in treatment. And Terri, I know you've had a lot of personal experience in instituting journaling at a law firm, and I was hoping you could share that expertise with us today.
I would be happy to kind of share what my experience has been with client journaling, what I've learned along the way, and then be able to provide you with some tips on what you can share with your team and with your client. And what I would encourage you to do first is explain the why behind this method. And it starts with talking to your attorney case management team and explaining why this method is currently being used. And we are in a state right now with the pandemic that it's being used to explain, gaps in treatment, limited resources as far as providers that are available to treat, or delays in getting rescheduled appointments, et cetera. So it's really important to explain to your team, and then for your team to explain to your client the impact client journaling can have on any kind of case progression and potentially settlement. So explain the why behind the method.
Perfect. And then where ideally in the relationship with your client does this conversation about journaling belong?
Ideally, it would belong in the very beginning. Again, I know we hit pause with the pandemic and we started where we were, but ideally this would be very early on. Typically when we have a new client, they've called us, very close to the date that they sustained an injury. And so there are those journaling entries, and even specifically photo journaling entries that we want to capture early on as soon as we can. And so setting those expectations early with your client is best. And I mentioned photo journaling, and I kind of want to give some more detail into that. Is clients, when they call us, they've been recently injured. And so we want to make sure that if they have bruising, if they have scarring, if they have swelling, that we're capturing that in photo. Photo is worth 1,000 words. We want to make sure that we're documenting our file with that, and the client is actively helping us with that. So if they have swelling in their right hand, well, yes, I want you to send me a picture of your swollen right hand. I want you to also send me a picture of your right hand in comparison to your left hand. Or if it's bruising, why I want you to be really close up to see the detail. I also need a photo, maybe just a step or two further away, to see what body part it is in comparison to, is it a leg or is it an arm? I'm not really sure sometimes when I would get photos if it's too close up. So I want to see the detail, but I also want to see how it compares to just your body in general. With scarring, the same is true, early on, maybe it's wound care or burns or whatever it may be, that if you can take photos, if it's uncovered, go ahead and take those photos along the way. Make sure that the date is kind of their date stamped, or you write down the date that the photos are taken so we can see the progression and the dates between each photo that you've taken.
Okay. And what about, I know a lot of provider offices also take photos of, wounds and bruising and things like that. Is it okay to rely on those photos that the providers are taking?
I would say it's okay to rely on them, but not solely rely on those. Don't let that be substitute to the practice that you have in place for photo journaling with your clients. What I have found is that when I request photos, they come back in poor quality, or they don't have the photos. And what I've also noticed is that the photos that are taken are at their appointments only, and there may be significant changes along the way that are not documented and lost. So yes, still rely on your client to take photos, even if their provider is taking photos on their behalf.
Okay, thank you for that. So outside of photo journaling, what tips do you have for speaking to clients about actually writing in a journal?
Of course, of course. And again, when we practice this method at the firm I previously worked for, this was typically on our significant injury cases. It wasn't specifically for all cases, and it could absolutely be, but we specifically used it for our significant injury cases. And the purpose, or what we found once we started having clients submit their journal entries, is that they were providing so much detail. And in lieu of them calling us, once a week or once a day, or, whatever it could be, just to provide us with an update, they were taking to their journal. And that it was so great to see all that detail, because we do want to know. And maybe our client appointments are, every 30 days or whatever that may look like for your firm, whatever that number is set. Although we weren't talking to them and we knew that they were having a lot of treatment and that there was some progress going on with their recovery, they were able to put that in their journal, so that we captured every detail. What we also found is it was a really great resource for them to reference back to, as they got 6, 8, 12 months out post injury, and they were feeling a little frustrated about their recovery. They would take a look back at the journal and see the progress they had made. So it was a really good resource for them too, and a benefit for them to have something to compare back to. When they were getting a little bit frustrated with just feeling like there was no real progress.
Sure. And I wouldn't have even thought to use journaling for that purpose, to really help the client see how far they've come. But I think that's a great usage for it. And so what about putting some parameters around that? Or what about for people who may not feel comfortable putting in writing how they're feeling? Any do's and don'ts or tips for easing their fears as they write in their journal?
Absolutely. You certainly want to let the client know what your intention is with the documentation. Let them know that you're at some point possibly going to provide it to an adjuster, to a defense counsel, whoever that may be. So you want to make sure that you give them some guidelines of what you're looking for, what you're not looking for in that. And I would first start with a date, of course, what the date of the journal entry. I would say a to and from, so to your law firm from your client. And then at least 3 questions that they are going to answer. And the first one being that the client addresses, "This week I felt." And this could be describing their injury. So if they have back pain, it's throbbing, it's radiating, it's going down into my right leg, whatever that may look like for them. Again, you're not trying to spoon feed them what to say. You're just trying to give them an idea of what you're looking for. The second question would be treatment. And this could be doctor's appointments that they had. This could be increases in medication or pickup of medication. This could be at-home therapy that they did that day at home or that week at home. And then the third question would be emotionally, I felt, this. And I think it's really important right now, especially with the pandemic that we're in, is that support systems are not currently in place. And that could be, they're not able to see their family or friends and have that support that they typically would. Or maybe they've been off of work and they're not with their work family for that support as well. So it looks a little different for everyone, but I think it's really important because they could be missing out on activities that they enjoy, gardening, something of that nature. And I think it's really important that it be documented. And what I also want to mention too is that this is a good resource for them to have as well, to take to their appointments, to their doctor's appointments, because we sometimes forget, between appointments, what symptoms we're having, when we're having them, what it looks like. So it's another good resource and benefit for the client as well in that aspect.
Yeah. And speaking of doctor's appointments, I know right now a hot topic is telehealth, because a lot of providers' offices are closed or they're only taking limited appointments. So do you have any things to keep in mind for law firms who might be navigating telehealth right now?
Absolutely. And telehealth, like you mentioned, may or may not be available. I think it's really important for you to talk to your client about that. If it is available, are they comfortable using it? If it is available, do they have the resources to use it? Not everyone may have a device to be able to connect to that. If if they are, great, make sure that that's being documented in both the client journal and in any kind of your case management, project management system. If they've had any kind of at-home therapy records, you want to make sure that those are being noted too in their file. And maybe the office is closed, and so maybe there's a general messaging on their office phone that you need to record just to save to the file. Maybe there's announcements on their Facebook, or and it could be their Facebook page, but it also maybe their website. Any kind of documentation that is out there, make sure that you're capturing it and saving it to the file. I would say don't expect the adjusters or defense attorneys to know what providers are capable of doing what. And so document your file really, really well with that.
Yeah, good idea. I think this is an incredibly timely topic. Certainly, we've acknowledged that journaling was around prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I absolutely think it will continue on after the COVID-19 pandemic, and people may just be a little bit more aware of it after having gone through this. So any final thoughts for us as firms navigate that?
Yeah, I just want to remind you to, explain the why to your team, and then your team explain the why to your client. Set the expectations early on with your client and what you're looking for. Be their accountability partner. Have them with you agree to how many entries they're going to provide per week. And then, encourage them along the way. It's a new practice. It's uncomfortable, and it's, whatever is new, it may take a little while for it to stick, but really encourage them. I would also say, make sure that you've removed any kind of disruptors or roadblocks. And this could be that they need paper and pen to do the journal entries. It could be that they need self-addressed stamped envelopes to return the journal entries. So just make sure that any roadblocks that they may have, try to remove as many, if not all, that you can.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Terri, for sharing your expertise with us today. And thank you for joining in. I hope this has been helpful as you navigate maybe instituting client journaling at your firm. We encourage you to reach out to us. Visit our website. It's vistact.com. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either Terri or myself by phone or email. Our contact information is listed on the website. And we at Vista do have a client journaling template. So if that's of interest to you, again, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.